Right now, you are jazzed, you're excited, you are electric, you are on fire, and the truth of the matter is, I'll give you a week, maybe 10 days, and then reality is going to slap you across the face. The baby's going to throw up on your new blouse just as you're running out to a party. The puppy that your kids insisted you got just ate your best pair of shoes. The refrigerator has stopped working, and your mother keeps calling and saying, when are you going to come and see me? We can all say the words, there's too much to do and too little time. It's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. And there are going to be days in which you go to bed, you are so tired, even your crow's feet hurt. There are days. No matter how much you love this, it might be a little tiny one, but you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to say, oh, good God morning, instead of good morning, God. And there might be, although infrequently, times in which you know the definition of work. It is the penalty you got for not marrying rich.
Let's talk about then this notion of radical resilience. Let me define it for you. First off, this is what it is not. How many of you remember that character? Okay. You got to be able to take a licking and keep on ticking. Well, there was that resiliency, Bozo the Clown. The traditional definition of resiliency is to do what? It is to bounce back. It is to bounce back. And that's exactly what happened with that image, Bozo the Clown. And those of us who remember it, you remember you would hit that thing and it would come back, hit it and you'd come back. Who wants to be hit and come back in the same position to be hit again? I do not think this is very smart. So to me, the definition of resiliency is not about bouncing back. It's this. It is to grow through.
So the problem for all of us is that we are connected in a 24/7 world that constantly is asking us to be on. And we suffer from something called SAD, situational attention deficit disorder. Now, I hope you hear me use that pronoun, we. I do not come to you as a voice of wisdom. I come as a fellow pilgrim on this journey. And some days I think I understand this. And some days, frankly, I stink. And my husband says, Eileen, read your book. So I'm going to describe some of these symptoms of SAD that I get. And so that if I feel that I'm not alone, if you have this symptom, would you just say, oh yeah. Can you do that? Oh, yeah. All right, here's the first symptom. You walk into a room. You stand there. I came in here for a reason. How about this one? You look down at your day timer, your smartphone, your PDA, whatever you use, and it says, Susan Smith, 10 o'clock, and you're thinking, I have no clue. Now, this is one of my favorite ones that I've found myself doing, because we multitask, right? You dial the phone. While you're on the phone, you decide to do email. You got a really complicated order there. You got a problem with one of your downline. So that by the time the person over here says hello, you have no clue who you called. Your brain went out your nose. So here's the deal. By the way, that multitasking is one of the least functional things that we can do. Stop doing it. And that's a training part for us. So we do not do well. And research says it will take us 20 to 30 minutes to get back on track. The heart is an incredible energy field. It has 300 times more energy than the brain. In fact, you can feel the energy of a heart. Have you ever noticed sometimes if you walk into a room and all of a sudden you go, uh-oh, something's going on here? I don't know what's going on, but I think I'm going out. You can sense the vibration, can you not? It's the heart. It didn't come from the head. It came from the heart. The reason I put heart up here with adaptability is The core of the word heart is the word ear, and it is listening. Your speakers today had talked to you about how do I listen? I think it takes the heart to listen. The French word for heart, coeur de lion, the heart of the lion, is also the root for the word courage. I think it takes courage to listen to the heart. Who is it you need to listen to? And I have to tell you, some of the people that I think will have ideas for us, how can we respond in a world of change that can create transformation, are people we might not want to listen to. And that's going to take courage. Forget balancing, start sailing. Forget balancing, start sailing. And my apologies to everyone who used the word balance, because that's the word we have. But I want to tell you why I think balance is a wrong word, and it has to do with the picture that comes in our heads when we hear that word balance. See, the implication when we hear the word balance is that it's equality. Have you noticed that life ain't equal? The word is the problem. I want to give us a different picture, therefore a different metaphor, because if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a metaphor is worth 1,000 pictures. Instead of thinking about balance, I want you to think about sailing. Do I have any sailors in here? Okay, all right. How about, has anybody seen a sailboat? All right, we're good. So when I grew up, from high school on, we lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. One of my friends had a little one-person catboat. You could launch it from the beach in the back of the station wagon as long as you had one other person. And I want you to envision me in my little sailboat. So I've got my right hand over here on the tiller. I've got my left hand over here on the sheet. And if it's a wonderful day like you get in South Florida and the wind is coming off the Gulf Stream, my sail fills up so that I don't fall out of my boat. I got my toes ticked here under the gunnel. It's a little wooden strap. Okay, now can y'all see me in my little sailboat? All right? Do I not, theoretically, look as if I am out of balance? Yeah. You see, what allows me to go forward is I know where I'm consciously connected with the most important parts of my sailboat. If I let go, abandon it, where do I go? You got it, Shark City. So the first notion of sailing through life, when somebody says, how you doing, saying, I'm sailing, is how are you consciously connected, i.e. spending that precious thing called time with that which is most important. Now here's another part of the metaphor. When the wind shifts, what do I have to do? I got to shift. I got to come about, don't I? Does the wind shift in our lives? All the time. So then the notion here is I got to live consciously, not unconsciously. Now here's another part of the metaphor. Just as there are cycles of the tide, phases of the moon, so too are there cycles of our life. And if that is true, then no truer words were ever spoken than this too shall. What is your why? Why are you here? I wanted to talk about the power of that why, and to do this, I wanted to tell you a story. This is a plane that a relative of mine flew in World War II. What makes this plane unique was the pilot. The pilot was my mother.
My mother was one of the 1,074 Women's Air Force Service pilots, or WASP, who at the height of World War II, when every able-bodied pilot was needed to fly combat missions in the European and the Pacific theaters, answered a call to converge on an air base in Sweetwater, Texas, to take over the military flying for the men who were called offshore. And when they were disbanded shortly before the war was over, they were literally told, thanks for your service, find your own way home. And their records were sealed. And Mom had to call my grandfather and ask him for money to take a train back to York, Pennsylvania. I thought maybe you'd like to see Mom. Cute. it is a story that was only started really being told 2 years ago when they were given the Congressional Gold Medal. And my sister and brother and I got to go back on behalf of Mom to DC and receive it. Let me tell you though why I told you that story. Because when they were finished, women were not allowed back in the cockpits of military planes again for 30 years. They thought that what they did didn't matter. But here's the deal. They would have done it anyway. It was not our mothers who were upset with the way they were treated. It was the kids of WASP. We call ourselves cows. I'll give you one guess who gave us that name. We were upset on behalf of our mothers. They would have done it anyway. And I realize now in retrospect, they did it because they knew what they stood for and they knew what they standed on. I would contend that they were radically resilient, but they did it because they knew why they did it.
I tell you this because there are times for all of us in our lives, you're going to think that the work you do doesn't matter. You're not going to be sure that you made a difference, but if you are consistent with your why, you will. I have watched women from all branches of the service, when these WASPs would get together, sit at their feet and say, thank you, because you did, I can.